Welcome back to the Mackem in the Middle podcast. After another Sunderland game, it was 1-1 away to Ipswich yesterday. 3 p.m. kickoff once again. And Kyle, the lovely American, I'd say he's got his coffee, but it's probably a bit late for that, isn't it now?
I just polished it off. Last cup of the day.
Very nice. And Dom, who's making his debut. But Kyle, first of all, 1-1 draw. Some people will say they are the results that you shouldn't accept. Some people will say it's a decent point. Ultimately, 7 games unbeaten, a point away from home when we're not particularly playing too well. 4 points against Ipswich this season, which reality, I don't think we've played much. We haven't played much football against them, really. We've been poor in the 2 games. So to take 4 points from them is not a bad return, all in all.
Yeah, not at all. And, I saw the one caveat with it was, the 1 point's fine if the season progresses like it should. It's going to be a real bummer if it gets cut short. Fingers crossed. I'm not trying to speak that into existence, but that was kind of the one caveat I saw. So, but yeah, 4 points from Ipswich. Now we just got to root for them to really hit form and start knocking off some of the other teams.
Yeah, I think if it does get cut short at the moment, I think we would lose out again on points per game. Although I don't think Wycombe would sneak in this time. I think it would be Wigan and Rotherham, I think it is. So every cloud has its silver lining, I suppose. Right. But Dom, people always say that games like that are the games that cost you promotion. Is it really?
I think if you look at the whole reflection of the game, especially in the first half, if we had lost that game, you wouldn't be able to complain too much because we got battered for a long period of that game. Yep. And a point really doesn't seem too bad considering they had a lot more of the ball. Well, I felt like they did, and then they just absolutely seemed to be on top for a lot of the game, and we just couldn't get a hold of it, and then somehow come out with a point.
Yeah. And obviously, there are a lot of injuries to the squad, Kyle, and we got another one yesterday. I don't think anything's been said about it yet, but January is looking more and more welcome every single game, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, that pretty much nails on that Diamond. Diamond's probably going to get recalled, right? We're probably. Yeah. I mean, he's been in great form there. I mean, that makes sense to slot him in at that winger position. But yeah, January is going to be hopefully great. Hopefully the pocketbook's open a little bit. But yeah, we just need the depth, and we'll get some people back from injuries as well. I think we have about a 10-day break or about a week, 11-day break, something like that before our next game. Besides Arsenal, but yeah, that should be good. Help people rest up like Sirkin, and I think Huggins is out, but.
I think he's out in March. I think it is.
Yeah.
They expect him to be back a bit sooner, but then it's been extended, isn't it?
Yeah. I think Sirkin is back soon, possibly on Tuesday against Arsenal. He was back in training. Denver Hume is obviously back. He played, the second half really, yesterday, which we'll get onto him a little bit as well. But looking at the game, Dom, Ipswich took the lead, and it's pretty much the same goal that we keep conceding over and over and over again. Cross into the box, simple header, and we're 1-0 down.
Yeah, it does seem quite simple when you say it like that. But however, I thought it was quite unfortunate. It's like with the deflection when it bounced up and straight onto his head. I was just like, that's like if the ball came across properly as it was meant to, I think the defender would have got it. But the way it looped over every single defender that was standing in front of him. And straight on to, was it Ollie Norwood? James Norwood?
James Norwood,
straight onto his head.
Ollie Norwood, the one at Sheffield, he is, isn't he?
No, I think he's the one that plays for Sheffield United.
Yeah. That was him.
But James Norwood in that first half was a handful, and he was giving everyone problems.
I think he missed the home game, didn't he?
I think he was dropped by Paul Cook. Paul Cook didn't really like him that much in the replay.
Yeah, I do miss his post-match interviews, like. Always good then. But Kyle, the one thing that people have talked about for a long time now is why we play so poorly away from home. and it's fair to say we do. You know, Shrewsbury, 10 men. Yep. We didn't really deserve to get a win out that game. Probably lucky to come away with a point against Ipswich in the balance of the game, but second half was improved. Is it just nerves? Is it what is it when it comes to these away games? Because we're not performing well in them at all when you look at the games that we've had at home as well.
Yeah, and I guess for Shrewsbury, they did it again yesterday. They were 10 men and ended up winning 3-1. So they just find a way. But yeah, I think it's just, especially the bigger clubs like that. I mean, it's a packed house, decent amount of travel. It's always tough playing away, especially in League One. I think conditions were okay. But I mean, honestly, to come out of that with 1 point, especially with how we played in the first half, we got outshot by 11. They had 16 shots to our 5. You know, it's you can't take it too bad. But yeah, I think it's just a little bit of nerves. I think playing away, I think in any league, any division is always going to be tough. That's why there's such a thing as home field advantage, right?
Yeah. But just, well, I think it was just before the goal actually, Dom. Obviously, Darky went off injured.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen red cards for challenges like that. We've seen red cards for our players for challenges like that. He didn't even get a yellow. And the point I made on Twitter was, with that being at Ipswich and Ipswich being a home game, if you flip the roles and that's a Sunderland player making the challenge and you've got the crowd behind it, you've got the players surrounding the referee, I think there's a good chance he gets sent off for that challenge.
Yeah, I thought it was a red card. It seemed quite high from the angle that we had, and he completely missed the ball. Like, obviously, Jacko was in a lot of pain because his foot was planted, and he's lucky not to come off a lot worse than he has. I think with the way that tackle was, it was pretty dirty, to be fair. And to think that Ipswich only got 1 yellow card yesterday for the whole match.
It's still not as bad as the referee we had against Plymouth, wasn't it? Yeah, that's Scott Oldham.
Name a team. It could have been any team.
Yeah, I think he's definitely the worst we've had so far. So I suppose, again, every silver cloud. But it is one of them challenges, isn't it, Kyle, where, you know, half the time it's a red card, half the time it might be, well, I say half and half, and then half, that doesn't really make up to 1. But I suppose if you go 33% of the time it's a yellow, 33% of the time it's a red, 33% of the time nothing happens. This time, obviously, nothing happened from it, but could you have complained as an Ipswich fan if you lose your man to that type of challenge?
Probably not, and it's only fair because we lost the man, right? So, I mean, on those grounds, I don't think they could have argued it too much. It was late. It was kind of a little bit reckless. Kind of came through the back, and it's just unfortunate. It could, of course, as soon as Diako's starting to, and I don't think he started great yesterday, but I don't think a lot of people did. Yeah. But of course, it's just our luck. You know, as soon as we get somebody starting to kind of come in form and impress, we get taken down by a rash tackle. You know, but
yeah. But first half, obviously Ipswich were 1-0 up at the break. Not a good performance by Sunderland at all. I don't actually think we had a shot on target in that half. I could be wrong, but I don't think we did. Second half came out better, won more of the challenges and got an early goal in the second half to make it 1-1. And once again, the best footballer to ever live and to ever grace the universe in Dan Neil sticks the ball through the midfielder's legs, plays it through to Broadhead, who finishes well. They are definitely two of the players that are impressing the most this season, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan Neil is starting to. Every time you think you forget about him, and he just does something that you just don't expect from a League One footballer, which Dan Neil probably isn't a League One footballer, which is probably why you don't expect it. From
probably Champions League standard, I would say.
He's definitely not League One standard, but maybe not Champions League just yet. But yeah,
a few seasons we'll give him.
I think Nathan Broadhead scored 5 and 5. Is that?
Yeah, 5 and 5, 7 for the season, I believe it is.
Yeah, and just the confidence is there. Even though Ross Stewart hasn't scored as many recently, but at least the goals are still coming from the team.
Yeah.
You don't feel like we're not going to score as much as we only scored 1 yesterday. You always feel like there's a goal in us now, which never sometimes in previous seasons hasn't been the case.
Yeah, and I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I mean, I think it's not necessarily likely, but looking more likely as the time goes on, the Broadhead could actually end up getting recalled by Everton in January, Kyle, because I think a couple of their strikers have got injuries or COVID or whatever it is, and I think they had a 18-year-old start up front for them the other night, so hopefully that doesn't happen, but it's a positive that, you know, if Stewart's not scoring, which in the last few weeks he hasn't scored many, you know, he still played, you know, 6, 7 out of 10 performances, put in the work rate, put in the, you know, hold up play, but hasn't got the goals. Nathan Broadhead is kind of taking the pressure off him a little bit, and that's not what we had last season with Wyke.
Right, yeah, because if Wyke wasn't scoring, we weren't scoring, right? And I think I mentioned it a couple of weeks, maybe months ago, but I was like, if we can get Broadhead going, that's going to take a lot of pressure off Stewart. And it's going to be a handful for. I mean, most League One teams can defend against one striker because most League One teams really only have about one striker, one main goal scorer. And if this form continues, like you said, every game we should be scoring a goal. And then our defense, although we let a lot of the goals honestly have come against Lyndon Gooch, and he's playing out of position and really trying hard and doing his best. But I really like what we've seen from our back line as well. So even if it is only 1-2 goals a game, that should be enough to keep winning. But yeah, Stewart's a little concerning. I don't think Broadhead's going to get recalled. I think it's one thing to score some goals in League One, but the Prem right now is on a whole different level. Even compared to previous seasons, you just see teams going out there scoring 6-7 goals a game. So I just don't see that jump, especially for a 23-year-old. Maybe if he's 18, 19, he's doing well in League One, they'll pull him up, say, hey, let's get you going. But I'd imagine they would have. I don't know. I hope not. I'll just say that. I hope he does not, because that would really put a damper on things.
It would. But the one change in the last few weeks, which was forced on, is obviously the formation, which we stayed with against Ipswich, and it's obviously a back three with 2 wing backs because we didn't have any full-backs fit. Obviously, Winchester moved back in midfield, and Gooch and Diaku have been playing as wing backs. But with Serkin coming back, Hume coming back, granted, Huggins is going to still be out for some time. Hopefully, not too long, or not as long as expected. But that definitely, with the performances, especially at home, that definitely seems like the formation that will work best to get the utmost out of the players that we do have.
Yeah, it does seem like the best formation that, even though Lee Johnson got asked if he did stumble upon it, even though it definitely seems like he did. It does seem like the best formation we've got at the moment, going forward and defending somehow, even though they don't really go hand in hand with the formation. But normally say it's a 5-back. I honestly don't think it is a 5-back. I always thought it was a 4-back.
It depends how you say it, because
a flexible 4 to 5.
Right.
It's a 3 in the back when you have the ball, and a 5 at the back when you don't, essentially.
Because Jackie is not a wing back. He is not a defender. Every time you watch him try and defend, he just looks so out of place.
Yeah. I think there's a few times as well where Bailey White kind of moved over to right back a few times, and I think Gooch has dropped in at left back.
I think he's had a bit of a reprieve. Was it a reprieve? Yeah. Like at right back, where he's found himself now. He looks so much better than.
I love Bailey Wright right now. Yeah.
He looks so much more like he knows how to play football, and not like.
He looks a lot more comfortable on the ball, which is not something I ever thought Bailey White was capable of.
He's enjoying it too. I think he's captain, right? He's wearing the captain's band yesterday. Yeah, I think it's good. And right now the back line just looks really solid. With Doyle, Flanagan, and Bailey Wright. Looks very confident, big too, very big back line, honestly. So,
I'm just worried that because you talk about Corey Evans is coming back, and that he comes back and just chuck him back in, and everyone's just like, we don't want to see this guy play. He's been so bad.
I don't know if he would come back in. It depends on the mentality of Johnson, I suppose.
Right.
I think Corey Evans is club captain, I believe he is. Yeah. Although I suppose this whole leadership group, I don't think anyone really has much of a clue what's going on. But with how well Winchester's been playing, and Dan Neil, who, like I say, best footballer to ever live, I don't see him getting dropped anytime soon. And I think he's actually played every game this season, hasn't he?
Yep.
Which is quite impressive.
Pretty much, yeah.
Considering this is his first ever season in professional football. I don't think he made any first team appearances last year, did he? Not in the league, at least. Possibly.
Yeah, and him and Winchester have looked just really solid together. You can just tell they're both tracking back correctly. There's a few times where Ipswich was on the break, and I just see Winchester come out of nowhere, perfectly shifting over, covering that. This formation looks good outside of maybe Gooch playing a little out of position is like the only one that we could really pick apart, but that'd be a little unfair. But I think everywhere else, that's pretty as solid as about a starting 9 or 10 that we could ask for.
Yeah, and I think when Neil and Winchester is as well, when you look at the midfield pairings that we've had, they complement each other very well, as opposed to having 2 people in the middle who just essentially, it's like looking in the mirror. They're exactly the same player, just as fast, just as strong, just as tall, just as poor at passing, just as poor at going forward. They do complement each other well. Neil can get forward. Winchester's had a few goals this season, granted from right back though, but they're both. Winchester's obviously more of a defensive midfielder, and Neil is more of a world-class creative midfielder. I should stop bigging him up because he probably will leave and I'll be gutted. But anyway, finished 1-1. And like I say, some people weren't happy that some were accepting a point, which I think, like I say, it's a good point. Shrewsbury that's a type of game that will cost you promotion. You know, a 1-1 draw away to a 10-men relegation at threatened side. 1-1 away to Ipswich, who've just sacked the manager and will want to impress the new one who just came in, obviously Mackem from Man United. I don't think it's a bad result overall, but Tuesday's game is Arsenal away. Obviously, Kyle. I think everyone's well aware. Hopefully it goes ahead because I think they have had a few positive COVID tests. So I would be gutted if it didn't now. But, you know, we have got a little bit of a break. There's no reason, like some people are kind of encouraging, I suppose, to not play your entire starting 11. I've seen a few people saying Chuck Kimpioku up front. Why?
That is outrageous. He's not played all season, man.
I don't think he hasn't started a single game. You know, granted, Sunderland don't have the best chance in the world at beating Arsenal away from home. But you know, for as long as the 90 minutes is still time to play, you have a chance of winning the game. Why would you try and reduce your chances?
And for, I would say about 99% of these players, this might be the only time they're ever really going to play away at Arsenal, right? I mean, like, you got to go out there, you got to enjoy it. That's going to be, I mean, unless it goes horribly wrong, it's going to be memories, right? And I think everyone's aware of that, and they're going to be up for it. Then we have a little bit of an extended break, and then we come back, and it's Doncaster. And if you want to talk about games that will throw away your promotion chances, it's Doncaster's horrible. Yeah. They are so bad. They only have 13 goals all season. I mean, that's the game. That's the game really we should be focusing on. I'm excited to watch the Arsenal game for sure, though. Just because, like, God, just if we were to manage to beat that,
it's one of the only games Sunderland have had in the last 4 years where if they get beat, no one's going to be fuming.
Right.
Unless you get beat 16, 17-0, which I'd like to think won't happen. But it's one of them games where you go into thinking, well, this would be unbelievable if we win this game and everyone would be buzzing. If we lose 3-4-0, you know, that's expected.
Right. Yeah. And yes, we should be, still have a Premier League mentality, but that's just not where we're at. I just want to, honestly, I just want to be Doncaster at this point. Like, that's the game, and if we chop and change a little bit and maybe err on the side of caution, I wouldn't blame that. Maybe we start 45 minutes or so, normal starting 11. If it goes poorly, then if we're down 2 or 3 goals by that point, sure, throw the kids on, whatever. If we can make it out of there injury free, that's really going to be the biggest victory, I think.
Yeah. And just before we move on, the last thing that a few people have said, which I just do not agree with one bit, Dom, is the reason for a poor performance against Ipswich is because players are looking forward to the Arsenal game, don't want to get injured, and that's why we're not winning 50-50 challenges. But that's nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah, I think saying that we played poorly yesterday, as much as we did play amazingly, I think Ipswich probably had one of the better games of the season.
They're a good side too. They played poorly, but they are a good side.
Probably, I'd argue they've got the best side on paper in the league. The likes of Scott Fraser on the bench, who is one player that I've said we should have signed 2 years ago, last year, this year. They have a lot of good players and probably good championship players.
Yeah, they aren't a bad team. We need to get upset when Ipswich play really well. We play quite poorly, we come away with a point. The players aren't just looking, Tuesday's Arsenal, we'll just wait for that game and just avoid any injury this game. It's not how they're thinking. The players don't think like that, especially not in a team that's trying to get promotion.
Yeah. It's a weird one, but people will always look for excuses in games like that, won't they, Kyle? And I mean, there's, again, just some of the things that get said when Sunderland don't win a game is, no one should accept a draw in this league. But there's no one in the right mind can expect Sunderland to go and win 46 league games this season.
It's really like people are watching two different games, because I even saw you getting someone on Twitter about who's digging out Dan Neil, and I'm like, what are you talking about? How can you watch that game?
I think his comment was, why doesn't Dan Neil get criticism? Yeah. Is it because he sings Wise Men Say? And I replied, no, because he's got the most assists in the league and is probably our most important player.
And he's 20?
Yeah, 20 years old, first season in professional football, being our best player, most consistent player. Don't think the fact he sings the songs after a game is the reason he doesn't get criticism. I think it's more down to his performances on the pitch.
Yeah, and really, it's I can't really criticize anyone from nothing from yesterday stands out and says, okay, so and so had a bad performance. I think everybody honestly played well. Bad start as a collective, but it was a good response, and that's really what you want to see in a game like this on the road, tough environment. a good response, and not getting battered, 3 or 4-0 like we've seen already this season. I think everything that we saw yesterday is very encouraging.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed to have been at 2 of them games as well.
Yeah.
Got hammered in. I've been to 3 away games this season. 2 of them have conceded 8 goals in.
Yeah, just take a break.
Yeah, I'm not at Arsenal, so whether that's an omen or not, I don't know. But player ratings we'll get into, as we always do, at the end, or towards the end, of podcasts, starting with Kyle and starting with Hoffman. Outside of the goal, don't really think he had anything to do. Don't really remember having to make any saves, so bog standard, 6 out of 10.
Yeah, no, I you can't really fault him for the goal. There are times where I wish he was maybe a little bit more aggressive with balls in the air. I think he had a good punch out though yesterday. Yeah, can't really fault him for a whole lot. I think he's probably our best option. I'm sure Burge will probably play at Arsenal. So that'll be kind of interesting to see what kind of form he's remained in. But no, 6 out of 10 for Hoffman.
Yeah, and Dom.
It's just a 6. You don't really have anything to do. It's hard to give him any more, any less.
It's always a weird one with Hoffman because he either has a good game or does nothing in the game. So I think he's had probably the most 6s out of anyone in the team. Although last season there was plenty of them. Kyle Gooch, your favourite footballer of all time, has improved recently, but I don't think he really did much yesterday. It didn't really offer anything offensively and was beaten quite a lot defensively. So I'd probably go with 5, to be honest.
Yeah, that is my only worry. You see him, I mean, he squares up fine, like when a player has the ball, but one move beats him every time. It's just a little step over and then go to the baseline or go to the end line, and he gets beat every single time. And it's just, that's my only gripe. I'd probably give him a 5. He did get scored on, but he's what, 5'5", 5'6", something like that.
He's not very tall.
Like anyone with a decent height and a decent jump, like it's just going to be, you just don't have the defensive instincts. So yeah, he was a little bit out of his depth, but before then he's played really well. So I can't really blame him too much, but I would say a 5.
Yeah, and Dom?
Yeah, I would say 5 as well. Wes Burns had a beat of him all day yesterday.
Yeah.
He was running regular. It's quite fast for
him. Barely right, Kyle. Didn't really notice him much, which is probably a good thing. Because I think if you notice a defender too much, it's probably because he's doing it for the wrong reasons. But don't really think he did anything wrong. Didn't make any outstanding passes or blocks or clearances. So again, 6.
I'd give him a 7. I think he played really well yesterday, and I like that he's got the teams back. I think there's some pushing and shoving going on with Broadhead, or I can't remember who it was, and he's immediately right there in their face. I love that from him. You got to have a little bit of an edge.
Nathan Broadhead definitely looks like someone that's up for scrap, like.
Oh yeah, love it. And I think he played some good balls up over the top. He's got really nice touch. It's not like what we've seen in the past where it just gets blasted and ends up going out for a goal kick. He's got really nice touch. Complements Stewart very well. So I'd give him a 7. I think he played really well, and I think Winchester did get after him on one. He had one poor pass that resulted in a breakaway the other way. Outside of that, though, I think he commanded really well and wore the captain band and represented the club really well.
Yeah, Dom?
I'll go over 6 as well. There was nothing noticeable, nothing that he did amazing. It was just a solid defensive performance from right back, which is probably not his natural position, so you can't really complain about it.
Yeah. Flanagan, Kyle, based off what I've said, right, I would probably say 5. And it's because he was guilty of just hoofing the ball all the time in the first half, especially. He still did it in the second half.
Yep.
He got better this season at not doing that and just playing the ball out. But there were so many times where he just, simple pass was on, he just hoofed it up the pitch or out of play or mishit his clearance. He did that, I think, 3 times in the game. Didn't necessarily do anything wrong. It didn't really lead to anything, dangerous from Ipswich. But based off the fact that he made those mistakes and made them poor passes, I would probably say a 5.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Did get the yellow as well. I can't remember. I can't remember how that came about.
That's never a yellow card, by the way.
Right. Okay.
If you think of how many times in Premier League, in League One, in Champions League, in every league in the world, you've seen a ball go out of play or for a free kick or whatever. The opposition player picks up the ball, moves 2 yards, throws it back. How many times have you seen that? I'd argue at least 5 times a game.
Yeah,
if you book in a player for that now, you will end up with 20 yellow cards in a game.
Right. Yeah. No, and I think outside of that, I think you're right there. I think the ball's just he played a little bit too conservatively, which you probably want, honestly, from your center back, especially on the road. But yeah, we want to see him. He used to be real good at just beating that first man and dribbling it up 30, 40 yards upfield. Maybe we don't want to see that anymore. Yeah, right. But maybe just once or twice. So, but yeah, I'd say 5.
Yeah, Dom.
I think he's been a bit harsh, to be honest. I thought he played quite well. I would at least give him a 6, maybe go on to a 7. I thought a lot of the attacks that broke down were because of him. To be fair, he got his big long legs in the way. There was some good tackles as well. Like when he was not quite last man, but like one of the second last men. Whenever like the ball came out, covering a lot for Bailey Wright, I felt like he got on along to whoever the winger was and got the tackle in, put it out of play a few times. I thought I'd give him maybe 6.5. I have to go for half rating.
6.5. First podcast, you're already doing half a rating.
Probably fair. Yeah, that's probably fair. Though I just don't remember him actually doing much. So that's yeah.
Doyle, Kyle didn't, again, kind of similar, right? Didn't do anything wrong. 6.
Yeah, 6. There's a few times where I
Every
thought
ball
for sure,
given 6s, but I mean,
right.
There's not much option.
It's hard. It's a 1-1 performance. That's kind of right down the middle. There were a few times where I thought for sure he was getting beat for pace, and he was able to recover really well. So with that, he was always at least in decent enough shape. Never got caught out. So yeah, 6.
Yeah, and Dom.
Yeah, it's like he didn't do anything notable throughout the whole game.
So. Yeah, and I know you want to see him in midfield, don't you?
I do think he'd be a very good centre defensive mid. I think he's got the passing range, he's got the ability to dribble, and I think he's wasted in defence. As much as he is a very good defender, I think he'd be very good in midfield.
It would be fun to see. I'll give it that.
But however, right now we do need him in defence, so he can stay there.
Yeah, until at least Jamali's back or Jamajli. He's been here 2 seasons. I still don't know how to say his name. Still never seen him. Anyway. We'll find out eventually. I'm not sure where he's been actually. He was playing doing 23s and just stopped playing for the 23s. So I don't really know where he is. That's just another injury to add to the list that is still there for Sunderland. Dayaku Kyle got stretched off with that challenge that wasn't a red card, but probably was a red card. Right. But realistically, up to that point, I don't think he did anything really. I can't remember him really beating his man or getting a good ball into the box or anything. So I'd probably go with a 5.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. And I think the problem is when you start to play really well, the other teams take notice. And someone like Yaku, he's kind of a one-trick pony in a way. It's just he's going to just try to push it past you and go. And if you have a defender with any sort of pace, which most of these teams toward the tops will.
I think the one thing with Dayaku as well that he needs to improve is physically.
Oh, yeah.
I think anybody could push him off the ball at this current time.
In League One, it is pretty much all physicality, no finesse. It's not like I don't watch much German football, so I can't really make a comment. But maybe it is a little bit more free flowing, pretty football. But yeah, it's not League One. Let me tell you, that is not the league for that. So yeah, I'd say a 5.
Yeah, Dom, are we harsh again?
No, I have to agree with that one. He was pretty dreadful. To be fair, he didn't really want to beat his man yesterday, which was quite annoying. It was hard to watch sometimes.
He seems scared at times to go into a challenge as well, I've noticed.
Yeah, just because he's not a defender, really.
Yeah.
He doesn't like doing that bit.
I think a lot of Germans like that, to be fair. I think there's even Premier League Germans, the likes of Mesut Ozil. I think he was one of the best for that kind of example.
I don't know if you've ever seen him try to win a header, but it's ridiculous.
He jumps under the ball deliberately.
Yeah.
There's a few players do that, and I've noticed it a lot over the last few years, but I've never understood it. Even if he has a free header, he'll jump under it if there's no one near him. But
they don't teach it anymore. Concussions.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember when we had Bentner. He used to do that all the time. He used to always just jump in front of the man and get nowhere near the ball. The guy's like 6'3".
Yeah, I do remember that very well. Is he still playing football? I think he's retired now, isn't he? Must have.
Probably. He's not like 40.
I don't know. I'm sure I saw him retire a few years ago. I could be wrong on that. Anyway, Neil, Kyle, 7 probably. First half didn't really do too much. In general, but didn't do anything wrong again, as he never does.
Right.
But played the ball well. Good assist, very good assist was per Broadhead's goal. ball through the legs and that through ball that we've seen so many times. And it's the exact same through ball that we saw, I think it was pre-season last season, that he played it through to Will Grigg, and everyone saw how good of a passer he was and how good of a midfielder he was, and we never saw him again that season, which still is amazing to me to think that we never saw him last season after that. But anyway, he is here and he is playing, and he is definitely playing well. So I'd say 7.
It's what we've been calling out for, though. Like, as much as we found success going down the wings and crossing it in and figuring it out in the box, I just love seeing a midfielder get on the ball, be brave on the ball, beat that first man, which he does almost every single time, and then just play it through the middle. We finally have pace with Broadhead. Playing it through the middle, I mean, I think it provides such a different angle of attack versus always going to the wings, always crossing it in. So I love to see it. I really want to give him an 8, but there's a few times where he does try to be too cute at times, like a little too many like one-time little flicks, which if we had other really good players around him, maybe those come off, but so many times those just go and the player's not making the run, and it's like he's seeing that the other team's just not on that level, or it's just tired legs, things like that. So he's just got to learn, pick and choose when to get real cute with it, I guess. I'll use that phrase again, but 7 I think is fair for the whole game.
Dom?
Yeah, I can only really agree with you on everything there. Sorry, more to add. He played all right. Got the assist.
Absolutely. Winchester, next room, Kyle. Probably the only player in the first half that actually played well, I think, is fair to say. And he played very well in the first half. Continued that into the second. Good on the ball, wins the challenges, runs around for however long the game was on for, and doesn't stop. So again, 7.
Yeah, I was thinking 6 just because I couldn't really remember much outside of him yelling at Bailey Wright and then the tactical foul. But you like to see that, though. You like to see it. There's definitely
I'm trying to think who he was. Who was he? Was it Bailey Wright? He was screaming at after that.
It was Bailey Wright left a bad back pass to him. It was too soft. I think that's who, I don't know. It's either that or he's yelling at someone on the sideline. But he's definitely, I would say, our second captain out there. With Wright, if he has been. I think 7. I think 7's fair. Played really well. Didn't make any major mistakes that I can remember.
Yeah, Dom.
I have to agree. I feel like since he's went into midfield, we have improved massively.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Balance,
I think you saw that
more.
I think you saw that more as well against Plymouth when he moved back to right back, as to how much we missed him in midfield.
Yeah, he's just that guy that just always. He's like, imagine. It's going to sound ridiculous, but like imagine like a Kante type player. He's always just running around. He's always there, just getting on your nerves.
Just a little bit taller.
Yeah, just a little bit taller.
And definitely not as much of a fancy name.
Yeah, just not quite as good either, but he's still
not quite
good enough for League One.
Yeah. Pritchard, Kyle, don't really think he was in the game at all in the first half. Saw a bit more of it in the second half, and did some decent stuff with the ball before he went off for Embleton, I think it was. So I'd probably say 6.
Yeah, and I think Pritchard's downfall is just his size against a physical team like Ipswich. He just couldn't get on the ball, just wasn't going off for him. It's really the first a below average performance in these last couple of run of games. And to be fair, I think Embleton came on and did really well. God, it's great to have someone like Embleton to come off the bench for someone like Pritchard. So yeah, I'd say 6, maybe even a 5, just because he didn't really impact the game until he came off. And so I'll go with the 5. But I like Pritchard a lot. So if he's listening, Pritchard, I love you. Just don't be mad. But we want better.
Yeah. And just to go completely off tangent here, right? Just saying the Liverpool score finished 2-2. That makes James Milner's tweet yesterday look even more strange. I don't know if you've seen it. Did you see it?
Yeah.
That is very bizarre.
Already loaded up.
He predicted that Liverpool were going to drop points, and then Liverpool have dropped points. That is very strange.
And they had 10 men for the last 10 minutes as well.
Yeah. That is very bizarre. That's all I will say. That's got nothing to do with yesterday's game, though. Anyway, moving on. No, not moving on, because Dom Pritchard.
I would have to agree with 5. He was pretty poor yesterday. But I feel it was just because Ipswich are a lot more physical than the few teams that we've played recently have been. And it just didn't suit him. And he obviously was getting visibly more and more frustrated as like the first half went on. And it carried on a little bit in the second half. And he got taken off quite early, wasn't it? It wasn't really that late into the game.
5th minute, something like that.
Yeah, which is, he's been playing a lot longer than that recently. So, yeah.
Stewart, Kyle. I don't know if that's a real. Is that a person, Stewart Kyle? I feel like I've just said that. And I feel like I know who that is. I don't know if I actually do. But anyway, Stewart, 6, I'd probably say. Played some okay passes, kind of them like one-touch passes around the corner. But service for majority of the game, I would say, wasn't really existent. Didn't really have any chances bar one, which he possibly could do better with. Keeper came off his line quite quickly and closed down the angle. It's not necessarily a sitter, I wouldn't say, but it's a one that, you know, it's kind of a 50-50 one where you think he's going to score it and he doesn't, but probably say 6.
Yeah, I'd agree, and I think he's a big reason why Broadhead's having a good run for him, because the teams know that Stewart is kind of the motor that drives our attack in a way, or So I think he did a lot of the work off the ball. I think he possessed the ball really well, and a lot of opportunities, brought it down well, played it out well. I really wish he just scored that goal, because that was a really golden opportunity, and in a game that we didn't have very many. So I would love for him to get firing again, because if we had both Broadhead and Stewart scoring 1 to 2 goals a game, I mean, we'll be real hard to beat. But 6, I don't think he's ever had anything less than a 6 this season.
Yeah. No,
maybe.
I don't know if he had. I think he might have had 1-5, I think. Possibly. I don't know.
He's definitely not had many. You're not keeping tabs on all this? You're not, yeah. Like you're taking notes.
Don't have it marked down, unfortunately. I should really. I should have I should probably keep tabs on this, and then have an average rating at the end of the season. Although that would take a lot of effort to go through 46 ratings and find an average. I'm not particularly good
There's
at
other services who do that. Yeah, there's other.
Yeah. Anyway, Dom, Stewart.
Yeah, it's just a 6. He just does his usual running. I think the pitch might have just bubbled up when the ball went to him, especially if we didn't see it live because we were watching some of a pointless replay.
Yeah.
And then you cut back to it. But yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I wasn't really enjoying this. I had the Ipswich commentators on. I've never heard 2 more biased commentators. And that's quite bold considering I used to listen to Frankie and Danny every week, but they were definitely interesting. And I don't even think, I think they said the tackle on Diaco wasn't even a foul, the commentators there. So, anyway, last but not least, Nathan Broadhead obviously got another goal. As Dom said earlier, it's 5 goals in 5 games, 7 for the season. Kyle, 7 out of 10.
I'd give him an 8. I think he absolutely, he was gassed toward the end, and I think Johnson probably even waited a little bit too long to sub him off. But the runs he was making constantly were fantastic. He's helping back a little bit as well, and the goal was just. It was the perfect kind of exclamation point to a beautiful run and move by Neil, because you hate to see a move like that go wasted, and slotted away. First time, didn't even think about it, and right past keeper had no chance. So I'll give him an 8. I think he played really well, and all we need, as much as I like O'Brien as a person, if we could take off Broadhead for those last 10 minutes and have a different look, someone with pace, maybe like Kim Pioka, I don't know. But yeah, that would be a little bit different than O'Brien, who just wasted the ball a few times that he had it, unfortunately.
Yeah. And Dom?
Yeah, I'll go with an 8 as well. He's obviously doing a lot more. He seems to do a lot more running than I've noticed him doing. But I don't know if that's me being blind but he seems to always be running the channels yesterday, and he was always just wanted the ball and he always wants to take someone on, which is what I like.
He's always capable of doing it as well. It's not just like he wants to do it like Gooch does and loses the ball and gives away a foul. 9 times out of 10, he actually does it.
Yep.
It seemed like the Ipswich players seemed to step off him a little bit in the second half, though, because in the first half, every time he got the ball, there was almost like freedom around him. But in the second half, it never really happened as much, didn't notice it as much. So,
Man of the match, Kyle?
I mean, I'll have to give it to Broadhead. He was my highest rated. So I think he played well.
Makes sense.
Ran himself into the ground, got us the goal that really got us the point. In all reality, him and Neil, if keep that partnership going, and that's gonna be easy money for us.
Yep. And man of the match, Dom?
Yeah, it's got to be Broadhead, isn't it? Couldn't really be anyone else after yesterday's performance. Someone else was overly notable, other than his nice, calm, composed finish.
Yeah. Arsenal Tuesday. Kyle, going to be a very close game, I'd imagine, as expected. Probably not. Based off the teams that Arsenal have tended to put out in these competitions against Wimbledon, they had a first team out, which is very strange. But hopefully they pick up a few more COVID cases. Not too many, so the game gets called off, but enough so they have to play, the under 23s or under 18s. Don't think that'll happen, and we probably will still be playing the likes of Smith Rowe and Saka and Lacazette and whatnot. But predictions, and I'm going to say go with your heart, not your head. I think if you go with your head, this is probably going to end on a downer.
We're either going to win 3-0 or we're going to get beat 3-0. There's not going to be any in between.
We'll stick with a 3-0 win for that one.
Right. There will be a 3-0 score line at some point in this game.
Yeah. Hopefully for Sunderland.
Right.
I'm going to go for a nice 0-0 and a win on penalties.
Lee Burge again, coming up with
Which
the big
is
save.
exactly what I would take. If I'm down there and we go through on penalties, I think everyone will be happy.
Like a remake of the...
Yeah, just
old...
QPR, 0-0. Just a few 0-0s. Contentious decisions galore. That's fine with me. Just as long as we get through.
Love it.
Yeah.
There's no VAR, right? In this
I was just about to say, will they have VAR?
I was thinking that before. I was curious because Arsenal, they have the capability for VAR.
I feel like they will.
If there's not, then for sure we're going through.
I mean, to be fair, if there is, we will probably have a better chance based off the decisions that have went against us this season.
That's true.
No, we might actually get a Premier League ref as well, which might be nice.
I don't know if that's actually an advantage at this point. I don't know if they're any better. And I've learned that one of the Premier League referees now is actually one of the worst referees we had in our first season in League One, which is David Gooch. I learned the other day. So I don't know if it is much of a bonus if we have a Premier League referee.
Just go down, have a good day. I hope fans just enjoy it, behave yourselves.
I do hope when I'm watching it on Sky Sports, because I'm not going because I'm skinned. We have better commentators than we usually do on Sky Sports because they are so dire and clueless normally when we're on Sky.
Right.
I'm trying to think who was on last time.
Luke O'Neill is the favourite one, isn't it?
Luke O'Neill. There's been a few other comments made that just made no sense and weren't factually correct at all. But hopefully we have like a Gary Neville. Give us Gary Neville, like an Ian White.
Lee Catmull will be in the studio as well.
Lee Catmull. He was on one game. I can't remember which one it was, but that was a good one. That was
great. Yep.
It's not a Pompey game where he obviously didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Kept looking at his script.
Yeah. Kept looking down, didn't look up once.
Yeah.
That was that one. But anyway, that is the time we have for today. Appreciate it both again.
Yep. No problem.
Well, depending how well we play on Tuesday and what the scoreline is, we'll be back on Wednesday. I'm trying to think if I've got work or not. I can't remember. So we'll probably be back on Wednesday to talk about the game on Tuesday, and then obviously the next league game, whenever that is. I'm not sure off the top of my head. We'll be back to talk about that one as well. But until then, we'll see you there.
That's all, folks.